Hi, I'm Laurie, and I'm going to be taking you through the Great Ball Contraption at BrickFair, Virginia this year. It's a reasonably large layout we've got here. It's got some 218 modules, give or take. That number's changed a bit over the day. 150 odd foot. We're going around, over 20 builders, and yeah, 3 different countries represented.
There you go. Nice. So what do we have to start with here?
Okay, so we're starting on a variation of the last year's BrickFair Workshop module. It's been added to a boat. I believe it makes it a little high, so it doesn't quite meet standard, but it's still a nice one to look at. We then go into a chain lift, and that has a nice, long, flexible output on. So great for going around corners and sort of adjusting if we need to take a module in and out. We have another BrickFair Workshop module that's been nicely blinged with some trans-clear bricks, and then into a blue version of this year's workshop module, which was a cardan lift design. Then we have this little inner loop going, which is a whole bunch of this year's workshop modules. I think we actually built 100 over 2 days, workshop with people. About 30 made them to the table. So yeah, people generally seem to enjoy the build. And yeah, I'm glad so many make it to the table. One of the differences we did this year is we've produced them in the colours of BrickFair. So there is a red, yellow, blue and a green.
A little more variety there.
A little more variety. A little more challenges running them as well. They require timing, so a bit of fun for people. After this, we move into a tall chain lift. This has another flexible output that allows us to sort of adjust when modules fail, or in this case, it allows us to jump over the top of the monorail that we see going past. This goes into a sidewinder style module where it takes the balls up on a series of pins, and that takes us into the beginning of the monorail. And it looks like we've got a train coming around to the station now, and it's going to fill up and then move on to the next stage. I believe you guys have done a longer interview with the builder for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So yeah, the monorail is going to take us round. We've got a nice L-shaped layout that goes around the corner in today's show, and that's going to go under itself, and then that's going to come around and dump in one of one of last year's workshop modules. So we can see it coming up now. All right. So after that, we go into a radiator, or a radiation module. It's sanitizing the balls. Not quite getting the dirt off, but certainly killing any germs as they go through with the UV radiation. After that module, we go into a ski jump module by Sam. Here's a nice series of modules that we're going through at the moment. So this one lifts it up on a chain lift, drops it down a ramp, and it does a nice little ski jump at the end there. After that, we go to I think it's called a squirrel cage, a module. It's a flipper module that kind of scoops the balls up and into the next module. Looks like we may have lost our ball boy. Our ball boy is not doing a very good job here, loading modules into the modules. All right. After that one, we have another chain lift module. Or not a chain lift, this is a slide module, so it's lifting it up on a chain and into a pair of slides, and it slides down into the next one, which is a screw style module. This is using a pair of the flex tubes to lift the balls up into a sawtooth module. So this is a variation of this year's Brick World Workshop module that has been nicely coloured in the yellow, using yellow highlights. After that, we have a stepper module. Looks very similar to the BrickFair Workshop module we had from last year. And then we have an extended Brick World. I need to start doing the A and the B's, I think, for the modules.
The workshop modules always get tricky.
Yeah. All right. So we have an extended ball pump, and that's coming into the first of our bridges for today. So this is one of Sam's bridges. A good, nice height. I think there's only 2 people at the show that actually have to duck. Most of us can walk straight under.
I like the warning light just in case.
Yeah, the warning light's great. That reminds people that if they do need to duck, they should. So then we come down, drops down into another one of the Brick World brick world ball pump. And then we move into a stepper module. This is actually a Myco design. It actually runs the pistons on the little crank from, or the conrod crank from the Lego motor piston. It's actually running the pistons on top of that. So on the side you can see there's I think you need about 60 of the little piston modules to make it. But it's a nice fun module to look at. From there we move into an evil castle. It's called the Definitely So Evil GBC Castle. And it's a very nice elf themed module. It takes the balls right up to the top and then they kind of traverse their way down to the next module. This one looked really great at the World of Lights last night. Yeah. We were running things in the dark with the glow-in-the-dark UV balls.
I love these decorated modules. Looks like these are kind of a pair here with the two elves themes.
Yeah, there's a real good versus evil thing going on here with these two. So the next module is another elves theme one. This is the Elven Ball Invasion. Once again, we have a similar idea where the balls are getting lifted up and then they're traversing their way through the castle on the way out. And we can't really see it from our side, but on the other side there's a lot of great detail. It's a really, really nice detail with the elves and so forth. After that, we're moving into an Avengers theme module. And this has Easter eggs all over it for the keen eye. Lots of Marvel superheroes. Technically, it is a part of the Disney multiverse because there's a Star Wars character doing a bit of spray painting on one of the bottom walls near the output.
Avengers Tower is great here as well.
Yeah, really good use of light and the clear to sort of like really highlight the look of the tower on that thing. So after that one, we move into the tumble dryer, which is another Myco design. And this one has the balls traveling up the inside of those the quarter segment ring gears that Lego was kind enough to start releasing to us GBC enthusiasts. It was one of the first new gears we'd got in a long time. But there's been a lot of interesting designs made out of that, and we'll see a couple of other uses of this particular gear as we get further around the loop. After this module, we move into a series of the Akiyuki Catch and Spinge modules, which are done in different color themes. Once again, another very clever design by that chap, with the two robots picking up the balls and moving on to the next module. After that, we move into a nice theme module by Brian Bell, and this is just a simple stepper, but it's an interesting application of the pistons, and I really like the color theming is used. You know, it's good to see GBC in more than grey. Now we're getting into a snail theme module, which has been seen many times before, but always pleasing to the eye to look at. Balls drop in, and a variation of, I think it's one of the early Brick World Workshop modules using the chain lift. After that, another chain lift, nicely decorated in trees, and that drops into a long output ramp that's part of this the tree theme, moving into the next module, which is a BrickFair Workshop module. Maybe I should call this one a B. What are we doing? A for Brick World and a B for BrickFair?
That works, I think. Yeah, we'll go with that for now.
All right, so now we're on to a B. A B, which is just straight out of the box build of a B module with one of the old Samsonite gears on top. Then we're into another B module. This is the red lift module from a couple years back. And that then moves into one of these smallest GBC modules. So these are built within the standard, so the entire module needs to be contained within the 8x8, the 10x10x10 brick dimension of the GBC input bin. So yeah, from time to time the community gets excited and builds a whole bunch of variation on that one. After that, we have a variation of an A with the wider input area to take a lot of balls. And then that moves into a module using the treads to pick up the balls. And I'd say from seeing modules that use treads, this is probably the most effective way of doing that. When you just have a single tread, the ball just tends to roll and doesn't move very well along it. So this then moves into a module that, despite all the power we're seeing behind, actually has no power at all other than the weights that are done the weight. So I like to call this a clockwork module, and the name is actually called just like clockwork. And it's using a lot of train weights to provide, oh, looks like it needs a wind up, but it uses the train weights to drive a clockwork mechanism that then drives a chain lift into the next module. After that, we have another a module called Another Day in the Mine. This is a nicely themed module, another one that looks good with a bit of UV light because of the way LEGO designed some of their bricks. And this is just using a wheel that's just flinging the balls essentially into the next module. But a really good use of theming a module.
The old power miner stuff, always love it. And it jams only rarely.
Jams rarely, yep. All right, after the Power Miners theme, we go into a nice simple chain lift, and this then feeds this really nice water wheel theme module. And we've seen this one in previous years, but it's still a favourite of mine. It's really nicely decorated, really good use of ball path and things like that. I really like the way that one looks. From there, we move into a sand crawler themed module, which moves the walls along pretty well.
They've even got all the sand crawler, robots and things out there.
Yes, nice collection of junk out the front. A few spare Lego bricks as well when they fall off as well. After that, we're moving into a B. I've probably lost those letters. I've probably swapped those letters by now. Moving into a B, a slightly themed B. Then we're moving into the beginning of an A, and that's used to give a bit of height. And then after that, we go into this nice sort of piston stepper module. So I really like the style of these modules. The challenge with building with them is you need a lot of height to start with. So it's very rare to have this style of lift right from the input bin. You usually need to put some kind of lift in front of them. After this module, we're moving into a wheel module, which a lot of these modules here have ball themed names. So this is More Stair Balls. The one before was Pump Stairs Balls.
We should give a quick shout out to the awesome GBC badge over here. Check it out.
Oh,
it lights up. There we go. That's some next level badge work there. Very nice. Thank you.
All right, so after More Stair Balls, which had the wheel and then another one of those steppers, we move into another A. This one is just straight out of the box from last year. And then after that, we're moving into a small wheel lift module. And it's always interesting to see the different ways people create the wheel. There's a few different ways you can do it in LEGO geometry. And this is making use of the kind of a three-sided Technic piece that you can actually do brick building on top of. After this module, and it's really going to have to talk to this ball boy. We seem to be running out all the time. So after this module, we're moving into a nice simple chain lift, nicely color coordinated, that then goes down a little kind of staircase ramp. And this one's just simply called Balls. Yep.
It's nice and simple.
Nice and simple, yep. After this module, we move into and more stair balls. So they definitely like keeping, without getting too many puns, moving in. So this is once again that same mechanism we saw before. Slightly different use of the pistons, but then, really like how the balls just kind of glide up the slope. Good use of the application of that. All right, now we're moving back into a B from a few years ago. Another B from a few years ago. Another B from a few years ago. Maybe I should. No, I won't do B numbering. I'll forget. Another B and another B. So what we had was a series of Brickworld Workshop modules over the years there, and they've really produced some good stuff over the years. It's really helps get new people into the craft, and even at this show, we've got at least 10 new builders at the table, which is great.
That seems to be a trend at the GBC displays recently. There's so many new builders joining. Yeah.
It's a really challenges for us old builders if we get here late. Finding some place on the table. But no, it's great that people, CGBC, see your videos and get excited and come along and join us. After that, we're moving into a very red variation of Tom's spiral lift module. That then moves into a very red A and a red version of this year's workshop module. a cart and lift theme module. After the cart and module, we're moving into another chain lift module, and this is lifting us up into a nice back and forth module. And they're always pleasing to watch, these modules that slowly let the balls sort of work their way down. Yep. All right. After this one, we're going into the second of the bridges. This is Stuart Rolls Bridge, the 2 towers. Bridges are always great, so you don't have to bend over to get in and out of layouts. They're certainly my favorite module on the table.
We should also mention briefly, if anyone's wondering, all the red modules, we've got Mr. Red right here, so it matches nicely. You've got all the red modules there?
Yes.
You've got to stay on brand, don't you?
Well, of course. There's nobody else that's going to do it except for you.
We were inspired by your design. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just wanted to give a quick shout out. Thank you.
All right. So after the bridge, we're getting to a series of modules by the Mr. Stuart Roll. The first is his, well, you could almost call it the Ice Bucket Challenge module these days, but in this case it's simply called Downpour. You have to be very patient with this module and wait for it to fill up with balls, and we're getting very close now to it filling up. A couple more, and then it will splash. There we go. And a couple of excited fans in the background watching them go through there. Then we're working into another variation of Brian's stepper. This one's just simply done in grey and red colours. Yeah, a nice reliable stepper. Very fluid way of the balls moving up into the next module. After that, I believe we have one of our, here we go, we have a first ever GBC module. So someone new to the table, only 11, created this camouflage belt module, which is using a chain lift, nicely timed to lift balls over into the next module. After that one is Wheelie by Mr. Roll again. A very nice module to watch, one that looks exceptionally hypnotizing at night when you can't actually see the wheels and all you can see is the glowing balls snaking their way up. After Wheelie we have Stuart's train, and it's just coming in now and it's going to load up with some balls. So this is using a pair of NXTs, one to do the loading of balls and then one to drive the train and do the unloading. In front of the train, as always, we have the Starburst machine. Not sure if you guys have had this on your channel before, but it's he was basically busy all day selling Starburst to kid with this. They can put their quarter in and press a button on the front and it'll transfer the Starburst out. So certainly a very popular, not so much a module, but certainly a very popular contraption on the table. After the train, we are moving into just the big blue ball return, so that people can drop lost balls back into the loop, missing the sign for this show. And then from there, moving into a wheel left module. This then goes into a splitter, and one path of the splitter is going to go up the big yellow crane here. And we...
Just making a cameo since Tom wasn't doing the video.
Excuse me, Laura. I'm a little confused because you're not Tom Atkinson and you're doing the video here. So
we're making a cameo. He should be represented.
The props are on point. I like it.
Yeah, very good.
Tom, we love you. We're not making fun of you at all. No.
So our real motivation is longtime viewers of Beyond the Brick will remember Brick World Chicago 2017. There was a little kid named Elijah who dressed up as Tom Atkinson for Halloween. And we thought that was an absolutely fantastic costume, and we want to try it for ourselves. So we're going to be Tom Atkinson for Halloween this year, and we thought this was a great opportunity to try him out. So, sorry to interrupt.
The Tom Atkinson rage continues. Thank you so much. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Thank you.
Good to see that his memory will live on. They may need to grow beards though. They're the old circa 2016 Tom Atkinson. All right. So we have is splitting into two paths. So at the moment we're going up a chain lift and then into my rainbow lift modules. That then goes into Tom's Ferris wheel.
There's a lot going on in this section right here.
So this is the challenge of so many new builders. So So yeah, we went through this wheel. I put my crane up because I'll still have it on the table, and we had this nice gap to fill, and we decided to fill it with Tom's Ferris wheel because I believe it should almost always be on the table. It's a classic. It is certainly one of my favourite modules, and will remain one of my favourite modules for perpetuity. So we had this back path where it went through the Ferris wheel, and then we had this front path where it went through my crane up and over, which is actually a bridge module, but we only needed 4 bridges, so it was a spare. So after this, the ball paths converge back in the mini golf, which has been seen just a few times before. Occasionally you guys run into me in strange parts of the country or other countries.
You never know where you're going to see this on display.
Yeah.
But we do have a more in-depth video, so if people want to see more on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly spend a bit more time. Yeah, if you want to see it more, check out that video. So that hasn't really changed at all for this layout. I think the only thing I really did was the motor for the windmill at the end is now hidden. So it's just all that wind power driving it now. There's no motor. After the windmill, move into another B from memory. And then after that, we move into my Stargate theme module.
This is incredible. The technology that you were able to harness here to get them to go from one side to the other, I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's something that, like, I think if I could monetize it, I could retire.
Yes,
But
I feel like there are other, maybe better uses for this technology.
Absolutely, yeah. Entertaining adults and children is probably not the best use. And to be fair, like, the adults are more entertained and possibly mystified than the children. They're usually trying to explain the mysticism, and the kids are explaining how it works. So after this module, we move into a variation of a nice reservoir module, and then that goes up a chain lift and into a module I call chain reaction. And that's just because I've taken the paper ramps out of the chain reaction book and included them in a module. But I think after this show, this one's getting retired, mostly because I don't pack it very well and the paper ramps are falling apart. So after this one, we're moving into a small loop of modules. They kind of have a bit of a theme. I've been trying for a while to have a small section of modules where I can guarantee that they all have instructions and are reasonably easy to build for people. So we just passed a power miner wheel module, really nice module from a guy in Australia that's designed that one and has instructions up online. Then we got one of my mini golf ones. We move into then a 4-bar linkage module called Hoken. It's another one of my designs. A module called Solaire, which is a chap up in Canada designed that. One of Maiko's shared power designs. We've certainly seen a lot of them. I think in the world record attempt had a world record number of those on the table. After that, we're moving into a serpentine module, which memory is originally a Brian Alano design, but this is my variation using the Bionicle eyes. Certainly not original, but I do make the instructions available, so it's been a fairly popular download for me.
Someone erected the Beyond the Brick banner out there as well.
And it does look like maybe that's...
I don't actually know what that's for, but...
So in Australia, we have this concept of swimming between flags.
Oh.
And if you swim between the flags, it's an area that lifeguards have deemed safe to swim, and there's no rips, there's no predators, and they are also like monitoring that area so that you don't drown and so forth. So it was just a bit of tongue-in-cheek to say that these modules are safe to build.
Okay.
for new starters, they can build these modules. A bit of multi-language stuff on the side. We just saw, just for a bit of fun. We then move into, that was Whirligig after the Serpentine module, and then into Akiyuki's Fork to Fork. So that starts with a wheel lift, and then comes up, and that kind of brings us back into the coaster.
Coaster, always impressive.
Yeah, always a great module to watch, and Ian continues to improve it. So it runs even...
That's all you can say is it runs.
Sorry.
Get the timing right.
Gotta get, yeah. So he's continued to improve it. So it runs better every year. Always great to look at. And I think we're really close to seeing the mic cart go down. So we may pause.
Just about ready.
Just to wait for a few more balls to pass over. And there we go.
This is so awesome. I love seeing it go down the track.
I'm always impressed that it doesn't come off the track
Right.
because it is just running on regular train track.
Because you secretly hope it will. You know, everyone, that's really what they're...
Actually, the Lego Train Club has special wheel sets using ball bearings that run super smooth with less friction. So I tried putting some of those wheel sets on the coaster, and the coaster ran so fast it just flew right off the curb. So I thought that would be fun, but if I'm going to use those wheel sets, I need to redesign the curve. So I'll stick with what I got for now.
There you go. Well, thanks for bringing it back.
Very good. So after the coaster, we move into another chain lift module. This is running quite fast, and this runs into another one of Ian's, a zigzag module. So once again, we get that nice, pleasing flip-flop of the balls sort of sliding backwards and forwards. After that, we have another chain lift module, and that then goes into another zigzag. So I'm not quite sure why we put two of the same modules next to each other. Bit of poor planning maybe on our part. Then we go into another B, I'll say. No, I'm sure someone will write in the
I
comments.
feel like at this point they're just all Bs. I don't know. We might have lost track.
Yeah, we might have lost track. Then another B, anyway, a couple of Brick World modules. Then we get into this nice sweeper module. I really like the design of these. Good use of Lego and Technic geometry to sort of just have enough clearance to move the balls up the ramps. And we've got a bit of the possibly the Brick World colours in that one. I don't think the BrickFair has the black in it. We then move into this this fan module. That's always a classic. We've had a few Darwinian tests of people wondering what would happen if they blew the balls back to the fan. Turns out you can lose an eye. So few hard lessons learned there from testing what would happen when you push a hard object into a fast spinning object. Then into a simple wheel shift, and then in my variation of Tom's perpetual work in progress.
Perpetual prototype?
Perpetual prototype, yeah. I haven't brought it out for a while because someone has put a chap in Europe has put up plans of his variation. I think we saw about 2 or 3 of them on the table at Brick World, so it's becoming a real fan favourite.
I always love how inspirational this has been for people.
Yeah, always. Then back into another BrickFair with a little bit of space theming on it. Then this moves into I think a Lassie Delura module. Another one of my favourites because the balls look like they're rolling uphill. And it's a really nice illusion for the eyes to watch that. And then we're into another one of these Sidewinder modules. Looks like, there we go. A couple of balls walking up the pins. Clever use of the chain and the Technic pins to take the balls into the next module. Then we're moving into a series of modules by Nate. And the first one is a pneumatic module. And you'll watch as the piston slides down, it seems to pause. And what's going on here, in order to get enough travel, he needs 2 pneumatic pistons to get the full length of that in and out movement to transfer the balls. So sometimes I've looked at it and thought it was broken, but actually it's by design. And there we
See him going back and forth there.
Yeah. So these are part of the controlling mechanism at the top, but underneath there's a couple of other pneumatic cylinders that are actually doing the in and out movement. After that one, we move into the white Make 3, which is this kind of this flipper module, which is picking the balls up and sort of lifting them up into the next module.
It's got a nice like R2-D2 kind of vibe going on here.
Yeah, it really does. You could definitely put an R2-D2 head on top of it for a little bit more blue. After this one, we're moving into I think there's a New Zealand chap called Sawyer. He puts a lot of stuff up online, instructions and videos. And so this is a build of his one of his banana lift modules. It's another really intriguing application of these kind of ring gears, these quarter ring gear segments that Lego have used, and the way people have been able to incorporate them into GBC. So then we move on to a module, the Flip, and this is it's got a big prototype in the brackets afterwards. And this is, it's actually a module that if you slow down, the balls don't move on. So it actually needs the inertia of it sort of lifting the ball up that quickly to flick it into the next module.
Yeah, that's just crazy to watch that go. It's just like going hardcore there.
Yeah, it's when I first saw the name, it reminded me of flipping someone off, which you know, I guess if you sort of themed it a bit, it could definitely become like that. After that, we've got a really nice yellow theme module, a tipper-based module. So we've got a couple of pistons lifting them up, and then that's been included in the output stage, which kind of gives it this nice rocking motion from there. Then we move into another chain lift module. We've got these 2 speeds of chain, which sort of really distracting to watch, in that the ball's going slow and then suddenly speed up halfway through. After that, moving into a little popper module that sort of takes the balls in and then pops them out the top into the next one. And then we're into a ball pump, a Type 7 ball pump, Make 2L. So this one's had a few revisions, judging by the name. After the ball pump, moving into another variation of a wheel lift. Well, actually, it starts with a wheel lift, and then when we get on a bit further, we actually see it shooting them into the next module. And when you actually look down the barrel, it's quite an interesting mechanism. It's actually like a sort of, well, it's not kind of a flicker. It's actually like a gun barrel action with a kind of a shooting action. Quite a clever design. So then we get into another 4-bar, although the 4-bar is kind of hidden in the framework. Yeah, running very fast, this one. After the 4-bar, another ball pump. This is probably an early, a Type 5 ball pump. But this is kind of an earlier design of ball pump. So we used to see a lot of these around, and then now with the Brick World one, and there's another design of ball pump that's sort of become a bit more common because they allow you to go straight up, and you can build them into modules a bit easier. After that, we're into another piston module. This one's using pneumatics again. And we can see the pumps working frantically at the back to try and get this module up. And it has this little pump at the back, and that just helps you charge it up in the morning and occasionally give it a bit of a boost.
little physical manpower required on this one.
Yeah. So okay, it can be switched to manual if needed. After that one, we've got another shooter theme module. This one's called the Black Shooter, and there's really a lot going on here. So we've got the primary path coming up a ball pump. That then goes into the shooter mechanism, but if it misses, it gets a chance to try again. So, which is important in GBC, because if the balls don't get a chance to move on, lots of problems happen. After the shooter module, we're moving into another bridge module. This is another new module, once again inspired by the Mr. Tom Atkinson. Tom's very low bridge has inspired a lot of us to build tall bridges. So yeah, nicely themed in white, big GBC letters at the top that we just saw. And then that drops down into another one of our newer builders on the table. So we've got a really nice theme module here called Conveyor Through Space. Begins with a chain lift coming up to the top. And then there's all this really great detail as the balls travel down. We've got various planets, and I'm sure there's some spaceships in there as well. I really like the theming on this, and really great to see from a new builder on the table. After that, moving into a little stepper module. Oh, not a stepper, well, similar to the one we saw before, where the balls kind of walk up. Very nice. Another variation of a BrickFair workshop module. And then we're back to another interesting use of the banana gears. Now, I can't quite remember, but I believe this may be another Sawyer module. He really likes to, once he picks a particular design, he'll try a lot of different variations on it. But a very clever use, because it doesn't actually dump the balls until it goes to pick up new ones. We can see that now, where the quadrants will lift it up and push it over to the next one. From there, moving into another one of these kind of 45-degree ball pumps. And that then goes into a Dragon Wave. So this is a really cool module to look at as the balls travel along the back of the Dragon. And then that then moves into probably the best use of the rubber tread, which is helping the balls go down. So yeah, but possibly frustrating to watch if you're trying to follow a particular basketball, because you then have to wait for it to slowly make its way to the bottom. After this one, moving into a chain lift. And I was really looking forward to seeing this module running. It was called Orbital Motion. but the balls have sort of been skipping over it for most of the show. Couldn't quite get the timing right. It's sort of a variation on Mr. Akiyuki's planets, but we have two sets of them running side by side, but didn't quite get it running well enough to run during the show today. After this one, I think we have another new builder on the table, so we're starting with a very long chain lift, very nicely decorated with the blue there. That then moves into a slide and a drop, and my memory is that when they got to the show, I think they only had the chain lift. So the rest of it has been built at the show.
Quite literally pieced together.
Quite literally pieced together with a bit of help from some of the more senior builders around. After this, back into a theming of a BrickFair workshop module. And there's a little bit of a graveyard around here. There's certainly been some adjustments and improvements made in this area as the show's gone on. So I'm sure they're learning plenty of lessons from being in a loop for the first time. After this one, we're moving into a module called Magic Eye. I think we saw this one last year. He made some improvements to make it more reliable, and I was surprised because my memory of it was it didn't break down when we saw it last year. So now it's even more reliable. A really great module to watch. Very, very transfixing as the balls sort of S their way through. So the balls will actually move their way sort of to one side, then to the other side, and backwards and forwards.
A very parts-intensive module.
Very parts-intensive module, and another one of those modules that from the back is not as mystifying. After that, we actually have a module from the same builder. So this is a Stranger-themed module. I remember first seeing this one. I think he was posting some build pictures on Instagram and getting really excited and not realizing it was coming to BrickFair. So this super clever module. So basically, we have two paths for the balls to go. We have the normal world, and then we have the upside down world. And so the way it works is the balls will come over to the top, and then if there's enough balls in there, we'll actually get balls traveling in tandem, one on the top and one on the bottom. And one of the clever things about the design, and I'll try not to break it, but the whole thing turns. So he can actually change it. Oh, here we go.
Live demonstration.
Live demonstration. So now we've reversed the two.
Oh,
and
very nice.
Yeah, and the module still works, but now we're in the upside down. So very, very clever module. I was really excited when I saw it on the table and realized I could see it in person. After this one, we're moving into Zach's shooter arch. This is a very interesting module. Sometimes it's a challenge to see what the balls are doing, but they're actually traveling an inverted arc. So they actually follow the inside round. A really great use of inertia to get the balls over to the next module. Then we've got his sweeper cars module, making good use of some possibly Lego string. Does look quite original. Good use of the old Technic figures they did. I certainly had a few of those back in the day.
Got some like coaster type track, the giant green wheels. There's a lot of unique stuff here.
There's a lot of really interesting stuff. Always like his builds. He certainly looks at things a bit differently and comes up with some really creative stuff. After that one, we're moving into a very rare BrickFair stepper, and I suspect this is another one of Mr. Red's. He keeps a lot of modules around, so we can always use them to swap in when things don't work so well. Then we're into another stepper module, a nice big reservoir that's themed a little. And that then moves into this nice chain lift module. So this is actually using the telescopes. It was something I was a bit surprised by when I first saw that the telescopes work so well to pick up balls in a chain lift. And he's got a really good use of a gravity at the end going into the two buckets. So this is some modules by a guy named Charlie. He does some really clever stuff as well. So one of the fun things I like about this is when you first look at it, sometimes you think the balls should be going in the bucket on the outside, but they're not. So yeah, we can see it filling up there. Oh, almost making it into the next module. When the next ball comes through, it'll kick it over. After this module, we're going into our fourth official bridge. Another use of the telescopes. No doubt heavily inspired by Mr. Atkinson again. For people wanting bridges that they could walk under. I do like that this is a bridge module, but I do find it one of the scariest to walk under. It does worry me that it may
The
not.
flex there is a little concerning.
Yeah, the flex is very, very concerning. But it has done a few shows now, so it's not coming down. Just a bit of worry. Then we have a great use of the brick separators and Transclear coming down into the next module, and a really nicely themed wheel lift module. Another great use of those triangle plates that LEGO produce to get the wheel shape and into the next module. And from the underside as well, because if you look through the Transclear from the backside, you can see it looks really mystifying the way the colours go around. So after this one, we're moving into a red and green chain lift. Just a very simple chain lift, bringing the balls up and then into a nice little zigzag path that helps bring the balls down to a level that doesn't cause too much bounce when they go into the next module. After that, another nice theme yellow and purple module before we move into the binomial distribution module. Now, and here we go. It's about to. There we go.
Just in time.
I would say that was almost perfectly timed, and not deliberately at all. So this is always a great module to watch. This is another one that with the UV balls just looked amazing last night. I did talk about it a lot. Obviously, the public can't see it, but it's a fairly new thing we've done the last couple of years. Is we run Great Ball Contraption at night with glow-in-the-dark balls, and just adds a whole extra dimension, and in brackets a whole lot of work to the whole process. All right, so after the binomial module, we move on this slow conveyor out. This just helps bring it back to the 1 ball per second, because it just does dump so many balls when it resets its distribution. From there, we move into another variation. I believe this is an Akiyuki-esque inspired module. So we go up this spiral lift using the old flex tube. We then go into a stepper lift, a clever use of axles and the pin connectors to lift up to the next section. And then that goes into this sort of brick belt output ramp, which is very pleasing to look at. After this module, we move into a wheel lift module, and that then moves into another one of these stepper modules by Brian. You may wonder why we've seen a few of these around the table. Brian produced instructions and circulated them to a few of the GBCs, and people really liked it, so they built it and brought it along. And they've been, as far as I know, they've just run the whole show. Very nice little reliable module. Then moving into another Brickwell ball pump, very nicely themed in white. Before moving on to another build of an Akiyuki design, the planets. Another great one to watch. Another one where you kind of almost wonder how he comes up with some of this geometry. And I think he may have a new channel where he sort of goes into some of his design process. So he's certainly getting a bit more active on YouTube these days. After the planets, another one of these Lassie, Delure and Stepper modules, and really nice to watch. The ball's just rolling up the hill. Then we into a module called Big Blue. Great use of the flex tubing to sort of use an Archimedes screw to kind of slide the balls into the next module. And good use of the blue slide pieces as we go on. We then move into a hybrid module. So it's half Brick World, half BrickFair. Very nicely themed in the green and gold here. And works quite well. As far as I know, that's run great the whole show. Then we're into another Brickwell ball pump. Then we're into another one of this year's workshop modules. Then we're into a themed version of this year's workshop module. I think, looks like a dragon. I'm sure someone will correct me on that. Then we're into another one of the ball pumps. Oh no, this is a different style of ball pump. So not a Brickwell style. This is possibly a Lassie Deluran style ball pump. Uses a sliding piston down the bottom, which unfortunately they haven't exposed the mechanism for us to see. But another very reliable ball lift. From there, moving into a wheel lift. And it looks like they're asking us to leave, turning off all the lights on us. Hopefully not too dark. Then move into this Really great chain lift. I really love the use of the theming on this. Great use of the blue and the orange. Really nice clicking sound as the balls come down. And this chap's actually been timing the loop for us today. We're getting an average around 45-minute lap times for balls. So he had a blue and a red ball, so distinct balls he would drop in, and then would kind of measure when they both got back, like the kind of times. So yeah, I asked him whether they went missing, like what was the difference, and it was about a minute between the two balls after lapping around. Then moving into this interesting use of a kind of a swing mechanism, where it kind of like the ball's going one end, and then as it swings down, they transfer to the other. This module is probably best used as a splitter. When you do it in the loop, it kind of comes off a bit to one side. But yeah, we have split into two paths now. On the outside, we're going into, and I think this section is almost all new builders. We've got a bunch of great small modules, some really good theming. That first one was tipping cups. Great using the power miners, those power miner attachments to actually pass the balls down to the next module. Really good use of those. Then we're getting into the brick separators again. And one of the very elusive and rare white slide pieces. You cannot actually get the quarter round, the corner versions anymore. They've become quite rare. After that, moving into a wide belt lift module. That then comes up and moves into another one of the BrickFair modules. Another BrickFair module, although it's this year's workshop module. A little bit of theming with the minifigures there. Another Brickworld one. And then a nice little, I think it's called Workshop Module 01. It's a nice little chain lift module. If we come back to the inner loop, because it's split back here, we can see we've got a chain lift module. Then we have another one of the lassie modules. We've got this nice scissor lift module here, which is using a clever use of a scissor mechanism underneath. Little hard to see because we've got it in the back, but there's some clever stuff going on here. Up into another one of the big wheels. This one's running quite fast but working quite well. Jumping into another wheel lift module. Then another one of this year's BrickFair workshop modules. Another one of the Myco stepper modules. Another BrickFair workshop module, and another Brickworld ball pump module. And as always, ending here at the bulldozer, being operated by a very, very professional operator here, keeping the balls moving through the loop.
Yes. Consummate professional, always keeping things going.
Always keeping things going. Do you have
Always.
anything to say?
Hello, folks. We want to hear how wonderful a job that Laurie did, because we know he did a great job.
Yes. Let us know in the comments how much you love it.
Exactly.
So that finishes it out for us, I think.
Yeah, that completes the loop for BrickFair Virginia this year.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of new stuff on the table. Some really interesting stuff to see, some builds. Always great to see new builders, and always great to see people back. That's probably almost as important as seeing new people.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for taking us around the whole loop here. Lots of awesome modules. I think once again the public has really enjoyed it here, so I think it worked well. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.